And to talk more about the proposed 30 kilometers per hour speed limit in urban areas, we are joined by Move as One Coalition co-convenor Robert Siy Jr. Good morning to you. Welcome to Morning Matters.
Good morning, Gretchen, and thank you for inviting me here. And this is a most important topic for all of us.
Good to speak with you after having your son no, on the show as well.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about the 30 kph proposal. Why is your group advocating for this, and what is the scope of that? Is it 30 kph across all roads, or is it pointing out to specific roads?
Let me start by bringing up like a common experience of all of us. Why is it so difficult for any of us to cross any pedestrian crossing? Maski saan sa syudad natin, any zebra crossing is still so treacherous. It is because, in all our cities, the major roads are designed as high-speed roads. And this is a serious anomaly. This means that all our major roads are hazardous for what we call vulnerable road users. Cyclists, pedestrians, people who use public transport, especially persons with disability. And because of this, what does this make us? It makes us more motor vehicle dependent because it is dangerous to walk, because it is dangerous to cycle, because it is dangerous to actually go out and use public transport. It makes us rely more on using a private motor vehicle. But why is this so? This is because our road transport officials, mainly MMDA and DPWH, consider that it is more important to have vehicles move faster on urban roads than the lives of Filipinos. So this is my number one beef. When we look at the situation in our cities, we need to actually bring down urban travel speeds of motor vehicles so that we can have more livable, more walkable, less polluted, less noisy cities with safer urban roads for ordinary Filipinos.
So, what are you advocating for specifically? A 30 kph speed limit across all streets?
That's correct, with the exception of tollways and expressways. So if it is a tollway, of course, we would allow uh, that road to actually have a higher speed because it is what is called a limited access highway. It does not allow vulnerable road users. But wherever we have vulnerable road users around the road, the speed limit must be brought down. And this is already, Gretchen, it's already in our law. Republic Act 4136, which is the Transportation and Traffic Code, already mandates that on crowded streets have to have only a 20 kilometer per hour speed limit. And what is a crowded street? This is already defined in a joint memorandum circular. It is a street within a 500 kilometer radius of a school, a market, a church, a mall, government offices, clinics, hospitals, places where people congregate. And so many of our urban areas already fall within this category of being a crowded street. Even streets like Commonwealth, even EDSA. We need to comply with the law. We need to push our national agencies to consider Filipino lives as more valuable than making vehicles move faster.
But aren't these roads, Commonwealth, EDSA, for example, Marcos Highway, aren't they highways to begin with? And you would expect infrastructure to help the transport of commuters, of pedestrians. And in the way that it was constructed, parang pangkotse lang po talaga. Lalong-lalo na, I mean, titignan lang po natin itong Commonwealth at itong EDSA. We have wide lanes for cars and when motorcycles. Is the 30 kph speed limit something realistic for these highways? I mean, we
You know,
understand the smaller streets, right, where there are lots of people crossing. But when it comes to these highways, isn't that the expected behavior to begin with, to have cars on those roads?
Gretchen, um, roads need to evolve with the urban land use. There was a time perhaps when EDSA was called Highway 54 and was operated very much like a limited access highway. But today, roads, even like C5, even like EDSA, they are now surrounded by very densely populated areas. And so many people actually move across from one side to the other. There are so many pedestrians on these roads at all hours of the day. These roads need to evolve their use and their design so that they can accommodate the whole range of road users. We cannot consider these roads as now strictly only for motor vehicles. Let me also bring up, an important an important point. These roads already have very low actual travel speeds. For example, on EDSA, the average travel speed on EDSA is already about 20 kilometers per hour or lower. So, uh, even if we used a 30 kilometer per hour speed limit on EDSA, it would not affect very much the actual travel speed of motorists. But what it will do is it would make uh, these roads safer, more accessible, uh, less noisy, less polluted. We would actually change the character of our city and make our whole urban area more accessible. For one, these days, it is almost impossible for a person with disability to use any of these major roads because halos walang sidewalk, halos walang pedestrian crossing that is at grade. But if we had a 30 kilometer per hour speed limit, you could actually have a series of, for example, signalized pedestrian crossings, which would permit people to cross these major roads safely. And, this is an emerging trend globally. The number one road safety uh, recommendation of the UN, WHO, World Bank is to lower speed limits in urban areas to 30 kilometers per hour or less. But the Philippines has not considered it. It should.
What do you think is the science behind 30 kph? It reminds me of the speed limit in villages. No? Kapag umiikot kayo sa village, nasa 30 kph yan usually, which is really, really slow. I understand no, it will keep many people safe, but also I want to see how realistic this proposal is. Why 30 kph? What is the science behind that? Why not 40? Why not 50? Or why not 60, like as it is in Commonwealth?
Yeah. At 60 kilometers per hour travel of a vehicle, if it hits a vulnerable road user, the likelihood of death or major injury is very high. Uh, if you lowered it to 30 kilometers per hour, the reduction in fatality, in the severity of the injury, is much less. Perhaps from actually having like more than 50% likelihood of death, it would actually be brought down to 10% or less. So it will save lives. And one thing they found, okay, this is not something which is, so uh, unusual or unreasonable. Already, cities like Paris, Brussels, Amsterdam, the entire nation of Wales, the entire country of Greece has adopted a 30-kilometer per hour speed limit on urban roads. And you know what they found? They found that it brought down uh, the percentage of fatalities down to about by it brought it down by uh, 28% to 40%. And that is significant. In the Philippines, this would save more than 5,000 lives annually. I think it is worthwhile considering. If we post this together with NCAP on most of our major roads, we would save thousands of lives annually. This is worth trying.
Well, as it is in Commonwealth, the 60 kph speed limit has already improved conditions. No, it has lessened the accidents. Why not keep it at that speed? Tapos 30 kph dun sa mas maliliit na roads where there are more people crossing. I mean, kasi kung iisipin ko, there are several approaches to this. Pwedeng dun sa highway mas mabilis, pwedeng dun sa loob ng syudad or inner roads, yan ang 30 kph. But you're proposing a blanket speed across all roads. And given the state of our infrastructure, those cities that you mentioned are actually backed by strong transportation infrastructure and other good alternatives, which is via train, which is so many other, yung roads nila are designed for cyclists. But here, that is not the case, obviously, as it is. And given, yung pressures of the urban life that we go through every day, I want to understand, no?
You know,
How this complements all of that, because we're talking
yes.
about everybody's interests here.
You know, Gretchen, during the day, it's very difficult for any road to achieve a faster than 30 kilometer per hour vehicle speed. Already, like on Commonwealth, it's not likely during daytime for anyone to achieve a 30 kilometer per hour vehicle travel. The journeys usually are slower than that already. Now, at nighttime is when vehicles actually move very fast because the roads are wide open and freer. But at nighttime is precisely when most of the road crashes happen, where most of the fatalities happen. And this is precisely when we need a lower speed limit in order to save lives. If we save lives, it will be worth doing this. And if we can save 5,000 lives a year, we would be foolish not to do it.
Okay. Thank you so much for weighing in on with us. It is an alarming problem already as it is. Road crashes taking 12,000 lives in a year. It is the fifth top cause of death behind cardiovascular diseases, cancer, diabetes, and pneumonia. And there are 5 out of 32 of those who die daily. They are children, as the data shows. So definitely a lot to look in to those numbers. And thank you so much for explaining those numbers to us. We have Mr. Robert Siy Jr., co-convenor of the Move as One coalition.